Welcome back to another video, and today I am very excited to announce my new scoring system for bike reviews. I'm probably more excited than I should be about this, but I wrote this out almost a year ago and it is finally seeing the light of day. I wanted to share and explain how this system is going to work rather than just shoehorning it into the next review video I do, which should be out in the next month or so. Why did I make this scoring system, you ask? I love making bike reviews, and as I review more and more bikes, I wanted a system so I could organize my thoughts and rank the bikes as objectively as possible against each other. I am pleased to introduce the Cobra score. 10 categories with 10 points each, so you can easily view how bikes stack up against each other, and you can also see where they thrive and where they struggle. I'm going to go ahead and give the name the Cobra score a 1 out of 10 for originality, but the system itself is great. Before we dive into each section, I wanted to explain a few key details. The final score of each bike isn't like a school grading system. So for example, the highest rated bike on this list currently has a score of 52. That doesn't mean it's a bad bike or has a failing score. This scoring system is designed so that similar bikes will receive a similar score, and then you can determine which sections are most important to you and find the bike that best suits your needs. No bike will ever receive a perfect 100 because that would imply that this bike does everything a bike is intended to do perfectly. Good luck finding a bike that can win both downhill races and a cross-country race. That bike doesn't exist, although I wish it did. The scoring in each category is going to be based off of current industry standards. So for example, if I'm reviewing the most expensive and most advanced full suspension bike from 1999, it's still going to be judged by today's standards and probably receive a lower score than an entry-level full suspension of today. We will assume that every bike will start with a 5 across all categories, which makes it average, and then as I test and review the bike, I will add and subtract points in each category to arrive at that final number. And you may notice that my nuke-proof reactor isn't on this list. That's because this bike was a custom build and I want every bike on this list to be as stock as possible. I see a lot of reviews that add hundreds if not thousands of dollars in upgrades and then tell you how great the bike is. That doesn't make any sense to me because 90% of the viewing audience wants to know what the bike is like from the factory as they are going to purchase it. In my full reviews, I try to review the bike as stock as possible, and then I offer some insight into what upgrades I think would make the bike a little bit better. Some of the bikes on here have been upgraded just a little bit, but for scoring purposes, I judged them on how they rode stock. Okay, I think that's enough insight for now. Let's dive into each section quickly, starting with specs. This section is fairly obvious, but it takes a look at all the parts that are attached to the frame. Suspension, drivetrain, brakes, wheels, tires, dropper posts, all of that is going to be ranked here. A bike that comes with Fox factory suspension, wireless shifting, wireless dropper post, carbon everything, it's gonna get an 8, 9, possibly even a 10, whereas a bike with a 3x drivetrain, rim brakes, and plastic tires is gonna get a 1. Features and styling. This section is mostly objective as we're focusing on the frame itself. For this section, the standard for a bike to receive a 5 is that it comes with a tapered head tube, boost through axles, front and rear if it's a mountain bike, internal cable routing for a dropper post, threaded bottom bracket, and space for at least one water bottle. If a bike is missing one of these standard features, I will deduct a point for it, but it can receive bonus points for extra things like a SWAT box, extra mounting points, exceptional frame design or feeling on the trail, and I may even throw in a subjective point if the bike is just incredibly beautiful. I tried to make this section as objective as possible, but some things like frame feeling and frame design, that's a subjective thing as beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Weight. Weight isn't everything, but it is nice to know and worth considering when purchasing a new bike. I broke down the weight section like this. 37 pounds and up will receive a 1 or a 2. 34 to 36 pounds will receive a 3 to a 4, 31 to 33 pounds will be a 5 to a 6, 28 to 30 pounds will be a 7 or 8, and then anything under 27 pounds will get a 9 or a 10. So if we quickly compare the two Marin bikes on this list, the DSX-1 gravel bike and the San Quentin 1 mountain bike, The DSX-1 actually ranks a little bit higher, but it's mostly because of the weight. Obviously you would want to compare the other sections because these are two very different bikes, but if weight is your biggest concern, the DSX is your winner. Geometry. This section is a bit subjective because geometry is not one size fits all, it's not universal for all riders, so a lot of it is going to come down to what I like as a rider, but I'm also going to be judging the bike's geometry based on current industry standards. For example, if a new enduro bike comes out and it has a 70-degree head tube angle and super short reach, it's probably going to get a bad score. And on the flip side, if a brand new cross-country race bike comes out and it's modeled after the Orange County Choppers Schwinn Stingray, it's also probably going to get a bad score. I'll basically be comparing the bike's intended discipline against its competitors and what falls within the respectable range of geometry for that given segment. Value. Is the bike a good value for the price? This factors in the last 4 sections to help us determine if this is a good value when compared to a similarly priced bike. Climbing. As much as everyone hates climbing, it is part of the sport, and this section will rate how easily I can get this bike up a hill. I ride a lot of the same climbs on every bike I test, so this way I can kind of see which one does it the easiest. The next 3 sections are based off ride characteristics, starting with XC. This section measures the bike's speed and efficiency. I basically just ask myself, would I want to enter a cross-country race with this bike? Obviously, cross-country specific bikes will get a higher score. Trail. This category measures daily rideability. You know, mountain biking. The trails you ride 90% of the time. Is the bike easy and fun to pedal around, or is it a chore? Does it handle trail features with ease, or is everything kind of sketchy on it? For this section, I basically ask myself, could this be my only bike, and does it do everything I need it to do out on the trail? Enduro/downhill. Would you want to take this bike to a bike park? I can't take every bike I review to a dedicated downhill park, but there are a lot of great enduro lines in my region, so I'll kind of be using that as the basis. It's safe to make a few assumptions like the Scott Spark RC cross-country race bike isn't going to be that great downhill. It doesn't even have a dropper post. I didn't get to take it to a downhill park, but I can kind of make a few assumptions based on what I know about mountain biking. The stoke factor. Finally, we have the stoke factor, which is the most subjective section on this scoring system. Is the bike fun? Would I grab this bike over any of my other bikes? Did I think about this bike when I wasn't riding it? Does it jump well? Is it playful? Basically, was I stoked to ride this bike? This section kind of ties everything together that we've already talked about. And while this section is mostly my opinion, I will do my best to explain why I gave it that score or what my thought process was behind giving it that score. To the right of the scoring system, you will see the test period in which I rode or owned the bike, and then next to that, you will see the classification of what type of bike it is. And finally, if you look down to the left-hand side, you will see all the bikes that I have an upcoming review for. So be sure to subscribe and come back, see those reviews, and see how these bikes stack up on the Cobra score. I already have a full video of every bike on this list so far, so if you do want more details on any of these bikes, be sure to check those out. The Cobra score will be at the end of each future review where I give the current bike I'm talking about a score, and I'll update this spreadsheet accordingly. So there you have it, that is the all-new Cobra score, and I'm so stoked to implement this on the channel. No, this isn't a 100% scientific or objective system, but it will be really helpful in trying to discern the subtle differences between bikes. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of this scoring system. Is it gonna be helpful to you, or did I waste a full year of my life? As always, I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next one, stay rowdy within reason.